The following is a condensed version of my presentation, The Children of Abraham and Mary Lincoln. The full version lasts 30 minutes. And I go to a lot of schools and give this same presentation about the children of Abraham and Mary Lincoln. Now, I know most of you don't like to come and listen to a speech about history. Yeah. But I think you'll find this one entertaining and kind of fun. There's a couple of really funny parts in there, and there's one part that's like, ooh, gross, but it's cool. This presentation is given primarily from 3rd through 8th grade. They get the most out of it. Okay. To begin with, Abraham and Mary Lincoln had 4 sons. They didn't have any daughters. The firstborn son they named him Robert. He grew up to become an adult. He died when he was like 73 years old, so he had a good long life. But unfortunately, the second-born son they named him Edward, or Eddie. He died when he was 4 years old.
Huh?
Yeah.
I know someone like
And their third-born son was named Willie. He died when he was 12 years old. And Tad, his actual name was Thomas, but they nicknamed him Tad when he was born. You know what a tadpole is?
Yeah.
It's like before a frog. It had a real big, because Tad had a really big head. Thomas had a really big head, but a small body. But as he got older, it grew out to be the same, so there wasn't any difference. But they still called him Tad. He died when he was 16. Now, there's a reason why 3 of the 4 children died. How many have ever been sick or had to go to the hospital because you were either sick or you had an accident? You?
I think I know why they died.
Why?
Because the mother was sick when she was pregnant?
No. Good guess, though. Oh, you know what? I forgot to volunteer. Thanks for reminding me. Put your hat on. And remember to pick what you're supposed to do with the pictures, those pictures. And he asked a question, or answered. Okay, any other comments or questions about that? Okay, I told you about getting sick or having to go to the doctor. When you went, none of you have been sick and had to go to the doctor? You have, okay.
I had stitches.
Okay. Well, most of the time, go ahead, the purple, and this one. And this one, go ahead. You raised your hand about being sick or whatever?
One of them was I had to get a tube out of my ear, one of them was when I fell out, and I had to get stitched in my ear.
Yeah. Well, back 150 years ago, that's a long time, 150 years ago, today when you get sick, you get a cold, your mom or dad goes to the store and buys some pills and you take them, or cough syrup or something, and then you get cured and you're fixed. Well, back then, they didn't have any of those medicines. So, we don't know what Edward died of, but Willie died of typhoid. That's a disease that mosquitoes, the mosquito has typhoid, and it bites you, you get typhoid. But today, we have thousands of different medicines that are pills that are specifically for like typhoid or Asian flu, any kind of disease that'll cure you. But back then they didn't have those cures, so you died. You didn't notice 3 out of 4 of their children died. Yes?
About the mosquito one.
Right.
Wouldn't you have to itch it a lot to get sick, or would it just bite you and get it?
Well, remember what a mosquito does, well, it's not really a stinger, but he goes in, and what he's doing when he bites you is drawing blood out of you, a little tiny bit of blood. Well, the typhoid germ is in the mosquito's blood, so when he puts in, now you get some of the typhoid bug in your blood, and then from there it circulates around. Okay. Tad Lincoln, the last born son, he was born with what the doctors call a cleft palate. Cleft means hole, and palate means the roof of your tongue. Go ahead and turn that one over. You look at it and say, ooh, whoops, it's upside down. There you go. Now this, here. Now this is not a picture of Tad because they didn't have colored pictures back then. But this is a picture of a 7-year-old boy that has the same problem, cleft palate. See that big hole there? The rest, all of you, it's not there. Now today, if you're born with a cleft palate, they call it a birth defect. 1 or 2 surgeries when you're a baby, you're all fixed and there's no problems. But back then, they didn't know how to do the surgery. In fact, they couldn't even put you to sleep to do any surgery. They hadn't discovered it yet. But it caused him several problems. That big hole. All right, we're going to do a little experiment here. I want you to slowly say the alphabet one at a time, each like A, B. All right, let's start saying it good and loud. A,
B, C, D.
What happens to your tongue when you pronounce the letter D? Where does it go? It'll go up in your mouth. Da, da. So you're not A, and the next letter would be G or T. So if you want to, let's say you wanted to say the word dog, but you can't do the da or ga sound. All you can sound is the O. So you're saying dog, all you can say is oh, oh, because you can't say the da or the ga at the front and the end. They call that a speech impediment. Now words that don't have a G or a D or a T in it, you can pronounce okay, because your tongue doesn't have to go up there to the root to make the sound. Now, another thing, if you notice, he's got some teeth here, but there's no teeth there, because that's part of the birth defect. Your front 4 teeth on the top and on the bottom, when you bite into, say, an apple or a piece of steak, it's the 8 front teeth, the 4 and the 4, they'll enable you to bite it off. Well, without those front teeth, think of some soft foods that you can eat that you don't have to chew to eat. What's one?
Applesauce.
Applesauce. That's right.
Pudding.
Pudding, yeah. Anything else?
Mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes. There's one more really good one. Go ahead. Yogurt.
Squash.
Most squash, yeah. Okay. Or soup. Soup if it doesn't have any vegetables or anything like that in it. Now, stop and think a minute. If you can't live off of pudding and applesauce and mashed potatoes your whole life and live. Other than because we're hungry, why do we have to eat?
To be healthy.
Right? That's part of the answer.
To survive.
Or survive.
It's like fuel for your body.
Correct. Because different foods have minerals and protein, carbohydrates, and all these fancy doctor words. It's your fuel to survive. We'll give her one. All right. So, get ready to be grossed out. Now you need, like I said, you need the protein that's in meat to survive. Well, you can't chew meat. You need a lot of vitamins like oranges and apples, things like that, but you can't chew them. So his mother was named Mary. You know what she had to do? Because they had no electricity. They didn't have blenders or anything like that. You couldn't go to the store and buy baby food that's all ground up.
She had to chew his food for him.
Right. She would take a bite of steak, put it in her mouth, get it all chewed down, take it out of her mouth and put it in Tad's mouth.
Oh my God!
You told me about
And then he'd swallow it. Because that's how we got his nutrition. Some people have asked me, why didn't they just mash up like the steak or something, or mash up the carrot? Well, when you chew food, what happens inside your mouth? Does it get all watery and with a lot of saliva? because the chewing brings saliva into the mouth. Well, if you're not chewing, you're not going to get the saliva in there. So if you just mashed the food up and you spooned it down and swallowed it wouldn't work. Because inside your mouth, the saliva has a special kind of acid that when it gets down to the stomach, it combines with another acid and it dissolves the food. So without that acid in the saliva, your stomach would just keep filling up instead of changing it into other components in the body. Okay? Okay. Now we'll create pictures here. Put the next one up. See that hat?
Yeah.
You see what he's wearing? It wasn't Tad Lincoln's hat, but it's one just like it. Today, I don't know if any of you are what they call Civil War reenactors, but today you can buy a child-size army outfit. Just go to the store, a special store, and buy it. But back then, they didn't have it. So what his dad did is he hired a tailor to come in and make his son Tad an army uniform. The hat, the gloves, the coat, the pants, and that was a real sword. Except they dulled the edge down so he couldn't cut anything with it. And Tad, go ahead.
I got the same picture.
Yep. The only difference is that's what they call sepia. So to have fun, what he would do when his mom and dad, remember they didn't have cars 150 years ago. But when his mom and dad went out for like a carriage ride, just for a drive to get away from it all, Tad, he had a pet pony too. Tad would get on his pony and he would ride as like bodyguard to their parents. Fortunately, nobody attacked, so he didn't have to defend them. And something else kind of nice that Tad did. Tad wanted to do something for the people, the army soldiers that were fighting in the war. So what he did is he talked his mother into going into town a little bit, and they bought things like toothpaste, beef jerky, playing cards, a writing tablet, pencils, a whole bunch of different things like that, put them in a box. And then they'd go out to the soldiers' home where wounded soldiers had to stay. It was like they're in the hospital. And gave each one of the soldiers what they called a care box. So inside, they had a writing tablet, a pencil, so if they wanted to write a letter home to mom or dad or whatever, or their girlfriend, toothpaste so they could brush their teeth, a comb so they could comb their hair. Okay. Our last one here. Now, any other questions while we're on the medical, before I leave the medical or the army? Any other questions? Okay. This one you can fool your parents with. I'll bet you the answer to this question, none of your parents will know. None of your grandparents will know the answer, but you will. How many times have you seen the movie The Wizard of Oz? Dozens, lots of times. The old one, not the new one. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Now, I'm talking about the really old one with Dorothy and Toto and.
No, I think maybe once or twice.
Okay, you'll recognize it when I show you the picture. There is a scene in there in that movie that utilizes a really big movie prop that was originally owned by Abraham Lincoln. Now, a movie prop is anything that's not human or animal. For example, they pick up a newspaper to read. The newspaper is a movie prop. They pour themselves a glass of water. That pitcher and the water and the glass are a movie prop. Okay. Go ahead and put the last picture up. Remember that scene?
Yeah, I remember that one.
They're taking the horse. They're in the Emerald City, and they're taking the horse of a different color on the tour of the city.
Yeah, and it changes colors.
The horse changes colors, but that carriage, that buggy, originally belonged to Abraham Lincoln. It was his private carriage. Today it'd be like saying it's his private car when he drove. Okay,
Oh my gosh, I didn't do that.
yeah, it's really cool. Well, you've been a real audience, and I thank you for coming. So maybe one day you talk to your teacher when you get back in school, maybe I can come and give this same presentation. There's a few other things I left out because I wanted to condense it a little bit to your class at school.